people were asking me, I know the question on your minds, a lot of you, except for people who don't know me, what did you think of the movie? Here's the deal. I expected to hate it. I wanted to hate it.
Yeah.
God, did I want to hate it. I wanted it to suck. Because then I could be all snarky. And I could come here as the purist and meet with my fellow purists. We could all be like, yeah, didn't it suck? Yeah, take that, Johnny Suede. Ha! And your big Hollywood machine. And yeah, and I could say snarky things like, well, maybe they should have followed the book. And then we'd all feel good about ourselves. That was the plan. And then I went to see it. And it didn't suck. And I didn't hate it. And I specifically thought I would hate it because it was so different from the book. But what shocked me was it was exactly because it was so different from the book that I didn't hate it. Because it was just somebody else's movie. It had nothing to do with me. So I was completely emotionally divorced from what I was seeing on the screen. Now I understand. That was like my big teaching moment. I get it now. Stephen King tore his hair out when he saw The Shining. Because there's the Overlook Hotel, which he created, and there's the characters that he created. But they're not doing the things that they do in the book. So I'm sure he was like, it's like when you're a kid and somebody takes your toys and plays them, and you're like, no, Luke Skywalker and Han Solo would never do that to each other. So I get that now as a writer, why it would be so upsetting. But I didn't have that moment. I didn't have a moment of hey, Jerry Lane would never say that moment. Because I didn't invent Jerry Lane. J. Michael Straczynski invented Jerry Lane. Maybe he had that moment if he saw it, because he wrote the first draft and then it got rewritten. So maybe he sat in the audience and was like, hey, wait a minute. I created Jerry Lane and Babylon 5. I didn't have that moment. I literally, once the title sequence passed, I was like, oh, this is fun. Okay. And to be totally honest, and I hate to admit this, but the only character that was in the movie that was in my book was the Israeli intelligence expert. He was spot on. That's the guy. That's how I wrote him. That's how I imagined him. So I loved him. Everybody else I was fine with. I love that 3.2 seconds of Matthew Fox. And James Badge Dale from the Pacific, he was great. And I gotta be honest, there actually were moments in the movie that just pissed me off because they were actually good. And there was stuff I would have written. For those of you who has not seen the movie, raise your hands. All right, good for you. Okay, I'll spoil one moment for you. There's a scene where a guy who's never had any experience with firearms, oh my God, zombies are coming, and he turns and he falls on the gun and it goes off because he's got his finger on the trigger and he shoots himself. I would have totally written that scene. That's everything I stand for. Those of you who've read my books, that's everything I write about are those little moments that we consider to be boring, but can change everything in a heartbeat. So when I saw that, I was like, wow. That's totally in the spirit of what I would have done. So, and I like the international stuff, and it works. It works as a movie, and it's just freaking killing me to admit it, but it works. It's not a bad movie, and $600 million worth of tickets clearly agrees with that. Wow. Yeah, I think people will remember this movie as the summer of Bizarro, literally and figuratively, because remember leading up to it, everybody felt like this was going to be Brad Pitt's Waterworld. Remember? And look, I'm a nerd, I get it. I took a date to see Legends of the Fall. And I walked out alone. So I get how my fellow nerds would have a general animosity for Brad Pitt just on general principle. It had nothing to do with his work. So I got that. And the press was just like, oh, this is going to be his big folly. Yeah, that thing, it's going to tank. Now, After Earth. All these other movies. Wow, shows you what I know. I mean, if you'd have said to me 3 months ago, like, what do you think is going to be a big hit this summer? I would have been like, you kidding? You know, my money's on. I guess not. So that's the movie. It came, it went, it was the #1 movie in the world. It hasn't even opened in half the countries yet. It's still going. It was the largest non-sequel, non-franchise movie open since Avatar.
Nice.
Wow, yeah. It was the biggest financial hit Brad Pitt has ever had. I don't know if there's going to be a sequel. Y'all have been coming up to my booth like, so they're making a sequel. I'm like, they haven't told me. Probably for good reason. And the nice thing is, if you want to get all personal and dish some dirt, I've actually had a pretty decent relationship with Paramount because I've been honest with them from day one. I've said, look, don't tell me anything or show me anything that you don't want me to talk about because I'm a really crappy liar. I just am. Like, that's why my wife married me. She knows I could never have an affair. I am really transparent, you know? Like, I'd make a lousy spy, I could never work on Wall Street, just things I would never do. So Paramount and I have kept sort of a respective distance from each other. And I said, look, if you deviated from my book, I can't ring the bell, which is why I didn't go out on the path and be like, yay, go see the movie, because I can't. It's not my book, so I can't very well go and shill for a movie that's not my book. And I told him, I said, look, if I don't like it, you may hear about it. And I did not like it. It's like 7 years of snarky remarks I've been revising. Oh well. So, I guess I'll have to leave that up to Alan Moore. No, it's true. I mean, you guys know. See, that's another thing. Like, see, you guys know the story behind, like, Watchmen? See, like, Alan, he actually didn't have a choice whether to turn it into a movie. He never had the rights, so they just did it, and they didn't ask him. Seriously. So he gets to righteously rant all he wants. Nobody put a gun to my head. So the thing is, I wouldn't have ranted about it even if I hated it, because the truth is, like, I'm a grown-up, and I made a deal, and you can't have it both ways. You can't shake hands with the devil and then be like, that's the devil! That's just the way it is. So anyway, that's the movie. And I think at this point, I'd like to we don't have a lot of time, so I want to open up the floor to your questions and really get through this. See, even they're excited. Hey, he stopped talking! All right. Questions.